God bless you and thank you for joining me today. This course is the last of 3 parts of what I call the 3 woes and 3 trumps. What we've done over the first 2, just to review a little, the first 2 parts, or the first 2 videos, go over the chronological order in the first part of how to read Revelations properly. So I'm just going to go real quick over this. You can watch the video, that way I don't have to go over this too much. But the chronological order of part 1 is basically chapter 1 through 10. Then you skip to chapter 15 and 16, and then skip to chapter 20, 21, and 22, because 11, 12, 13, and 14 is a reiteration of chapters 8 through 16, where John prophesies to the nations and what they need to watch. This is directly to the nations. And 17, 18, and 19 is about the destruction of Babylon. So they will reinforce the upper chapters of 1 through 10, 15, 16, 20 through 22. And I've gone over 2 different videos on, first one, the chronological order, or the proper way to read Revelation, because of the confusion of the churches. Nobody seems to know how this all works. And I'm not saying I do either. I just believe this is how I've understood it. And then the second one was to reinforce the above chapters 8 through 16 as you read through 11, 12, 13, and 14, because if you look at that second part video, it will show you what to look for, and the things that you want to look for in all 3 videos, and I'll reiterate this, are the 42 months, or the 1260 days, the last 3 trumpets, 5, 6, and 7, which all 3 have an additional woe attached to them. So trumpet 5 has a woe, trumpet 6 has a woe, trumpet 7 has a woe. God tells us this. Okay, so in chapter 17, and I put a little note above here, this is about the judgment of Babylon, because it tells you it's about the judgment of the great whore, Babylon. And it tells John that one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials, so the 7 vials have been poured out at this point, because they had them. Excuse me, I cough. If I do cough, I'm sorry, I do have a cold. I just want you to be forewarned ahead of time. You probably heard this in all 3 videos. I've made them all in the same day, so that's why. Tells John to come up, or come over, check this out. We're going to show you a vision of the judgment of Babylon. Okay? So, like I said, if you come back to chapter 10, we have the 6th seal where Michael throws Satan down from heaven, and it says, hey, you know, we weren't going to do this 7th trump yet. That 7th trump doesn't happen until chapter 15. Okay? And this is all, 15 and 16 are all about the bowls. So just remember that as we're walking through this. Okay? All the bowls are here. And then what does he say? He reiterates a couple times that he's going to show you the destruction of Babylon. This isn't, I mean, he's warning you ahead of time. This isn't anything new. It's not really that hard to pick up if you know where to look for it. That's why we're showing you. So we go to 17. It tells you this is the judge of Babylon. Here we go again. We got the 7 heads and the 10 horns. This is the Antichrist. We're going to do the 42 months, the 6th trumpet, or the 2nd woe. Now he's talking about a woman on a beast, but this is the Ottoman Empire, where Gog comes from, rebuilds the Ottoman 10 horns that go against Israel and attack them, break the 6th seal once they hit the Temple Mount, and then we have the 5 trumpets after that, which opens up the bottomless pit. Michael stands on the pit, brings Satan to the ground with the false prophet and resurrects Gog in the valley of Ham and Gog. We've talked about all this before. That brings forth Antichrist from the valley of Ham and Gog into Antichrist, or a supernatural being, and also brings forth the false prophet, which I believe will be impregnated in the Pope, and that will bring forth the change in the church so that they will try to convert everybody to the Islamic Allah, because that is what Antichrist is. So it's talking about Mystery Babylon. Mystery Babylon is a city, okay? It's probably Mecca, because what's going to happen is Antichrist is going to come up and he's going to want to be on the seat of God, which is in Jerusalem. You just had this surgical strike, and Israel's been devastated by the sixth seal and all of Gog's army. So it's a, it's a mess over there, okay? And so you're going to have this beast come up on the sixth trumpet right after all this destruction. And you also got the first 5 trumpets going on. So it's ugly. It's a very ugly event. And so when the sixth trump does come up, you're going to see this Antichrist come forward. You're going to have the 7-year covenant of death with the nations, because they're going to go, wow, this guy's not normal. Now he's a supernatural Gog, converted into Antichrist, I believe. And it tells us, about the martyrs, the saints, and the 144,000. So we start out, he's going to talk about the judgment, but we're going to go back to the beginning. We're going back to the 42 months. We're going back to, tribulation, where all the saints are dying. Here we go again. They that dwell on the earth shall wonder. They'll wonder for 42 months because the Antichrist is back. He's on the ground. This is the 6th trump or 2nd woe. Wow, look at that. Here we go in the woes again. We showed you the woes way back in like 8 or 9. I'd have to go back and look exactly where that is. You can go back to the first video and find out. I'm not going to go back there on this video. You can see these trumpets and woes there. Says he's going to do this. Now the 7 mountains are the Ottoman Empire. The 7 kings, the 5 have fallen, the 1 is. This is Erdogan, or the president of Turkey. And what I believe, and I differ from some, that this beast that has the 7th head, that is the 8th, and goes into perdition, is that Gog is destroyed on the 6th seal. Now, some believe that the fatal wound came from World War I. And I can sort of see that one. I differ in the sense that I believe when Gog dies and he kills the nations that go against Israel, this will be the fatal wound. This will be the one that puts him in the ground as a dead emperor, because that's what Erdogan, excuse me, I'm saying that wrong. So Erdogan, or the president of Turkey, will be the new emperor as he goes down, collects the nations, and comes back up and attacks Israel. So he'll be dead in a mass grave with all of his armies in Ham and Gog. And so we see him come up, short space, 42 months. He has a 7th head that turns into an 8th. That tells me that the fatal wound is going to be resurrected into something supernatural. That's what I get out of that. But we can have a conversation about that. He's going to make war against the Lamb for 42 months. He'll overcome them, and guess what? The Lamb will overcome them on the 7th trump, or the 3rd woe. Well, the 3rd woe, 7th trump, we're in what, chapter 17? Happens on chapter 15. The 7 angels are given the 7 plagues. This is the end of the 7th trumpet, or 3rd woe. So we're seeing this over and over again. That's what I'm saying. These are all reinforcement chapters. So for 42 months, this is going to happen. Antichrist is going to do his damage. Okay? And Then on chapter 18, guess what? Here we go. Babylon is fallen because we poured the 7 vials. All the plagues are falling upon them, the 7 bowls. Where did we see that? 15 and 16. Okay, that's where all the 7 bowls are. So, okay, now we're in 18. Is there another 7 bowls? I mean, no, they're not. They're reinforcement of 16, excuse me, 15 and 16. Now I put these days in here because it says its plagues on Babylon are 1 day, 360 days in the biblical calendar, in God's calendar anyway. And you see that the great city falls in 1 hour or 15 days, just like the half an hour of silence is about a week or 7.5 days. It's not really that hard to figure some of this out if you know how to use the Hebrew calendar into 1,000 years as 1 day of God. Excuse me, I'm so sorry about my cough. In the 1 hour, 15 days, guess what? All the riches are gone from Babylon because all the people have decided, you know what? Antichrist and the false prophet are in the lake of fire as they're destroying Babylon. There's no reason for us to be here anymore. And so, of course, they ransack the place and die in the process. And it's just going to be a terrible day for Babylon. And wow, look again, Michael, the mighty angel. I love this guy. This is God's angel. This is his main dude. You don't get any stronger angels than Michael. And Satan can't even come close to him because, you know, the big trick on Satan is he's never been in control. God wrote this book, gave it to his prophets, and Satan's out there going, I got it in control. And God says, you've never had it in control, man. So Michael's the big guy. And this is why I say I believe this is the one that's standing on the bottomless pit, bringing Satan and re-impregnating the 2 beasts that come out of the sea and the earth. Okay, so that's why I get a lot of this. And I don't think that is Jesus. Jesus is just holding the seal book and breaks the seals, and his angels are the ones he sends out to do things, okay? Jesus is a pretty mighty guy. I think he's got enough angels to do his dirty work, and I believe that's how that happens. So Babylon is found no more in chapter 18. It's destroyed. It's gone. God has wasted it. Everything is destroyed. Now this will probably be Mecca because you have to understand when they bring the church over to be next to Antichrist, because the false prophet has to be next to him to show these wonders, fire from sky, all these things, he has to be over there. So he's got to bring the church and convert them to this Islamic view. And the hub will be Mecca, because the world will come to Mecca and we will wander over this beast. It'll be the biggest hub in the world. Nothing will touch it. And it's not America in any shape, way, or form. It's not America, it's not New York, it's not any of that. It's probably Mecca, because you want it close to the beast. So we go to 19. Wow, the whore has been judged. The great whore Babylon is done. It's gone. It will never be seen again. It will be plagued forever. It will never exist on the planet to where anyone will ever want to go there again. And look again, as in 14:2, we have the many waters, or the saints, because all these multitudes are now in heaven. Okay, and what, 14:2 or in 19? Let me go back to 14. 14:2, the many waters. Okay, this is the rapture. Okay, same thing, same lingo. Okay, so it's destroyed. Okay, And he hears this multitude, all this is done, the marriage of the Lamb has occurred on the planet, all these voices are singing, hey, Babylon's dead, New Jerusalem's going to be on the ground real soon, we're so happy, our Lord has prevailed, we're on the right side. And what happens then? We pour out the bowls, and we have this battle of Armageddon. So the bowls are pulled out as we're having Jesus come back, because the multitudes have arisen up into heaven, because the marriage is come. Jesus has arrived on the earth. We have, we have the battle of Armageddon. And guess what? Our Lord comes back from the heavens in the clouds on the seventh trump, or the third woe, destroys everybody. The false prophet and the beast are thrown in the lake of fire. Wow, imagine that. Here we go again, reiteration of the bowls and the trumpets. And that happens around the 6th and 7th bowl when they're thrown in the lake of fire. And what do we see? Jesus is on his horse. He's destroyed them all. And we're on chapter 19, which takes us then directly to chapter 20, where they throw Satan in the pit for 1,000 years. And I've gone over all this in the second part, so I'm not going to do it again. So we start at 10. This is about all the trumps up to the last trump and the third woe. They haven't sounded it, but they're going to sound it on the 15th chapter, and it's going to reverberate through the 16th chapter. Then 17, 18, and 19 are all about the destruction of Babylon, which takes us to the bowls being finished, Antichrist and false prophet are thrown in the lake of fire, and we go to chapter 20. They bind Satan, he's thrown in the lake, or thrown in the bottomless pit, released after 1,000 years, second Magog war, because we have the first Magog war during the first seal to the sixth seal when he dies, and that is the white horseman of the first seal. That's the president of Turkey, which went down into, I believe, now that I'm the only one that believes this, I'm guaranteeing you, I had an image on the 20th that Gog was the first seal, and that he went, imagine that, went into Syria on the 21st, and this is documented on my Facebook page. You can check that out. And I'm just saying that this is where I've gone. We'll see if it happens. I mean, nobody knows for sure until it occurs, so we'll see if all this happens. But this is how you read Revelation, and this is what that's about. You have the first resurrection, and then the second death, and then we go into New Jerusalem and God's bride in the 21st and 22nd chapter. So this is how this is written. So, again, let's reiterate just a little bit here. In the first part, we went over the chronological order of Revelation. 1 through 10, 15, 16, 20 through 22, reinforcing chapters of 11 through 14 about the prophecy of the nations, which really are a reiteration of 8 through 16. And then we have, like I say, 15 and 16 are just about the plagues. The 7 plagues are the bowls that are dropped. Then we have 17, 18, 19, which are a reiteration of chapter 8 through 16, which tell you directly about a reinforcement of the destruction of Babylon. That's all that's about. 17, 18, and 19. And then we go into 20, because right after 19, where they thrown the Antichrist and the false prophet in the lake of fire, we bind Satan in 20, and then we start to show the bride of our Lord, or actually God. Then you can see the beauty of what the ending story is, because he has beautiful rewards for people that make it to the end. So this is how you do this. I hope you've enjoyed the 3 parts. I hope it's been educational. I hope it opens your eyes and makes you look a little differently at the book and how to review it and study it and review it. And I believe this is a good teaching tool, because if you can see the 1260 or the 42 months running theme through different chapters back and forth, you can then go, wow, I can line those up. And then you have the 3 trumpets with the 3 attached woes. And if you follow those back and forth, they reinforce the chapters above that. It's really not that hard once you see it. And it took me a while to see it. So I hope you got a lot out of this, and God bless all of you. Time is short. My main concern is if Gog went down into Syria on the 21st and broke the first seal, he will capture the tomb of Suleiman Shah in the northern part of Syria, which will allow him the authority to proclaim himself the new emperor of the Ottoman Empire. And this will then collect the 10 nations of Muslims that will allow him to have the authority to be the new emperor, that will sooner or later work their way back up from Africa and attack Israel. Which then, once they get to that God's seat, he will break the 6th seal, and that will destroy him. And then he'll be buried, and then we have the 6th trumpet rise of the resurrected Gog, or Antichrist. In that process, though, as he collects the tomb and starts to revitalize this caliphate against the Gentiles and Jews, he will also smash Iran, because that is part of the Ezekiel 38-39 trilogy, or prophecy. So just keep an eye on Turkey. That's what I've been saying. And if you see him start to march out of North Africa into Syria again and sit on the doorstep of Israel, it's probably getting real close to the 6th seal. And another thing that I want to stress is I don't think this will be a nuclear event in the Middle East, because these 10 nations are going to be right on Israel's doorstep. Israel can't nuke itself. It just can't happen. And so this can be a conventional war, and the 10 nations are given authority for an hour, and that's probably the time that they rush into Jerusalem and Israel and try to capture that temple.